What if improving your running was as simple as taking some time to lay on the floor on your stomach and paint a few gentle lines, and in the process, discover your own awareness through movement? Hi, I'm Andrew Gibbons, and tomorrow is my birthday. So today, we have a special guest on the channel, my wife Manu. Manu's been having some rotator cuff issues with her left shoulder, so she went and did one of the lessons in the Body of Knowledge course that I teach online. It's one of the lessons from the Swimming Upstream series. And you'll get to see her doing the lesson, and then you'll see her talking about her experience after the lesson, what was challenging, what improved, what she learned. And then, because she likes to run, she actually takes the lesson with her, that kinesthetic image that she gets from the lesson. She takes it out running, and then she comes back and talks a little bit about what she found when she went running. So you can do the lesson along with her if you want. You can watch her do the lesson and see what awareness through movement looks like, see the way people in the course use the lessons for themselves, and we'll get started, okay? Welcome to Awareness Through Movement. I'm Andrew Gibbons, and today is lesson 6 from the series Swimming Upstream. Okay, so to begin, please come and stand up. Now your spine is in the vertical here, and for most of the lesson, it's not going to be. So the things we do in the lesson are hopefully really going to enhance the possibilities you feel in your spine when you're in the vertical. But here at the start, just simply bend your spine a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Turn your spine a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Fold yourself forward, fold yourself backward, flex and extend. Just ask yourself the simple question, what's my spine for? What can it do? You know, the 24 vertebrae are arranged in such a way that almost anything is possible. Just about anything is possible with enough practice and enough compassion. It's possible to stand and turn your pelvis without even moving your head. You can turn your pelvis almost in secret under your head. And you can turn your chest without disturbing your pelvis. There's all kinds of combinations of movement that are possible. And unless you've really been trained or you really are involved in a discipline that asks these kinds of questions, you don't necessarily know about them. You just kind of go about your life and you get what you get and you don't get upset, and your back does this and your back does that, and sometimes it hurts and sometimes you have to rest, and some days you feel good and some days you feel bad. Go ahead and walk around a little bit and see if you can imagine almost walking from the spine. Just make your legs a little bit less important. Not that they're not important, but just relegate them a little bit to the background and have your spine generate the power, generate the balance for the movement of walking. And then please come back to your mat and come to lie on your mat on your back. And just feel for a moment that you have 4 limbs. You have 2 arms, you have 2 legs, and then there's the pelvis and the spine and the head, which are all kind of this central real estate, this central column. The pelvis is really in the center of things, the pelvis and your abdomen. And your head is way up at the top, and the head contains all of the valuable integrative sensory apparatus up there. Everything that's taking in the external world and the acoustical properties and the visual properties, and all of the vestibular information is being made sense through the head. But of course, the rest of your body is involved in the sense making. So just notice these 5 lines, the 2 legs, the 2 arms, and the central line of your pelvis and your spine and your head. And please come to lie on your stomach. Now, when you arrive on your stomach, arrange yourself so that both legs are long. There's a comfortable spread between your feet, whatever works for you. And the hands are laid up by your head on the floor. The hands are not under the head. They're kind of next to the head with your elbows out at about shoulder height. And just like we did in the previous lesson, please lift your head and gently turn it to the left and set it down. And then lift it and turn it to the right and set it down. Now, this movement, this turning of the head, has a kind of a fundamental role throughout the lesson. We used it a lot in the last lesson. It was kind of the primary movement that we did as we changed the arrangement of the limbs. Sometimes one arm was up, one arm was down, sometimes both arms were down, sometimes one knee was up or one knee was down, whatever, different combinations with the legs and the arms. But for the most part last time, if you remember, we would position the limbs and they would be static. We would leave the limbs in those positions, and then we would turn the head and we would try to find better connections down through the spine. This lesson is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit of the same, but it's going to be a little different. So keep lifting your head and turning it to the other side. Then you pause. Just give yourself a score on how smooth, how patient the movement of the head feels to you. And also give yourself a score on how clear you feel down through the length of your spine, your pelvis, your sit bones as you turn the head. See if there's already here at the beginning of the lesson, there's a way for you to begin to intelligently include the pelvis and the thighs and the knees as you change the direction of your head. Now, you can rest whenever you want. You don't need to rack up a score of a number of iterations that you turn the head. You can rest in between each movement, or you can turn here and there and then rest. But at some point, you're going to turn your head towards your left hand. At some point, you're going to turn to the left and you're going to see your left hand. And the next time you lift the head and you turn it to the right, at the same time, slide your left hand down and put it down by your pelvis as you're turning your head to the right. Now, the most important word in the entire lesson is this 2-letter word, as. There will be hundreds of times during the lesson when you will move and your attention will really be isolated on the arm or on the head or on the pelvis. You'll tend to concentrate your attention on one thing or the other. And all I can tell you here at the beginning is the whole lesson is meant to eradicate that strategy of isolating your attention. If by the end of the lesson you can figure out how to pull your focus wider so you can sense more than one thing moving at a time. You can maybe sense 5 things, maybe 2 arms, 2 legs, the spine, the pelvis. That'll be for the better. Now, when you turn your head back to the left, bring the left hand back up the floor, slide it back up the floor. Now, most of you, the sliding, we're gonna specify the kind of sliding, because some of you, what you're doing is you're straightening the elbow and you're moving the hand way out away from your body in a big long arc, and that's your version of sliding. And that's fine because nothing was specified, but now we're going to specify. When the hand slides down the floor, you turn the face to the left, you're looking at your left hand, you start to pick up your head and turn it, you start to slide the left hand down the floor. It's as if you're painting a stripe down the floor with the palm of the left hand, and the stripe runs parallel to your spine. That's right. That's right. It means that the palm slides down the floor, and then your elbow and your wrist gently peel away from the ground, and then there's this lovely moment where the fingers finally flip, and you bring the back of the hand onto the floor for the last half of the sliding as the hand comes down to the pelvis. And so, in a simple kind of way, you're coordinating 2 of the 5 things. You're turning your head, and you're coordinating the left arm with the head, but everything else is more or less static. But obviously your spine is starting to work a little bit. It's starting to roll to support. Well, here's the magic question. Does your spine roll in favor of your head or in favor of your arm? Now, there's no real perfect answer to this question. It's mostly for you to turn your attention inward and feel, well, how do I do it? Because when I turn my spine initially, it's so I can get my arm off the ground. And then, you'll find these little moments where the turning of the spine is a little bit in conflict with the arm or a little bit in conflict with the head. And that's because you're just learning how to sense what you do. It's not about finding perfection right away. It's about uncovering and unlearning a little bit, unlearning your tendencies. Now, the next time your left hand comes up the floor, bring the palm back up. You're turning the head towards the left hand as it arrives back up near the face, and then set the head down and rest for a moment. Just pause there. Rest. Now turn your head gently, lift it and turn it to the right. How much of your spine do you feel starts to organize to bring your head to see the right hand? Set it down with the left cheek on the floor. Leave yourself here for just a moment. Now leave your head. Leave it turned to the right so the left cheek is on the floor. And now paint a stripe down the floor with your right hand. Don't lift the head and turn it. Of course, the head is allowed to move. Your pelvis is allowed to move a little bit, but drag the palm of the hand down the floor. The elbow gently lifts and peels away from the floor until it's perpendicular over the wrist, and then the wrist starts to lift. The fingers pass underneath, and ideally there's no clunk. You're really looking for a way in the beginning here to change the position of the arm with this sort of 90-degree bend in your elbow, this sliding of the hand, this painting of a stripe that's parallel, not arcing out away from the spine. Really restrict yourself to a parallel line, a parallel stripe down the floor. And really find a way to inconvenience your spine so that the hand moves smoothly. It moves without a clunk. Now, for most people, it doesn't do that. There is a clunk. There is a variety of speed and momentum and power and strain that they have to employ because the strain is necessary because they're not willing to inconvenience their spine or their shoulder or their neck. They just try to move the arm. And we don't really know why. We don't really know why we do this. It could be that within the container of awareness through movement, within this particular form, there's a problem. There's an inadequacy in the language that the teacher has to use words, and the words come out sequentially, and they don't really describe everything that you need. Again, some of you are still straightening your arm. You're trying to move the hand out away from your head, and you're allowing your shoulder to just stay where it is, and you're letting the elbow do everything. But I really encourage you, be a little more rigorous. Paint the stripe parallel to your spine. The elbow has to lift up. No. You want all 5 fingers on the ground as the hand slides past the elbow. The thing that makes it difficult is that your spine refuses to roll. So how about you roll the spine a little bit to the left as the hand slides down, and you roll the spine again a little bit to the left as the hand comes back up the floor. That's it. Your face is continuously to the right now. Your face is not turning each time. Some of you have yet to have your pinky on the floor. You keep sliding the hand far away from the face. You always put the pressure on the thumb. You never have the pressure right through the center of the hand as it's sliding down the floor. That's it. Come and lie on your back for a moment and take a rest. Now, one of the tricks to understand about awareness through movement, about your responsibilities as a student in the lesson, is that the teacher's language is inadequate. The teacher can never really utter every last piece of information that you need. So one of the little skills that you have to develop is the ability to extrapolate. If the instruction says that you're going to slide your hand down the floor and you're going to paint a stripe that's parallel to the spine, in some sense it really means parallel. It doesn't mean vaguely parallel. It means do it so it's parallel. And then you get to figure out about what was not said. There wasn't really much said about how to roll the spine or the pelvis. You sort of creatively figure out how to inconvenience your spine and your pelvis and your chest so that the hand can more easily make that shape. And this is where the learning, the teaching and the learning in the lesson are really co-created by the teacher and the people in the class. Because there's an admission on everyone's part that the language is inadequate. It really is. Now go ahead and come back onto your stomach. Arrange yourself more or less in the same way with both hands up by the head. And arrange yourself so that your forehead's on the floor between your hands. So you're about as symmetrical as you can arrange yourself comfortably. It's okay if your nose is a little smushed. It's not going to be there for too long. Now, in what we did previously, you were turning the head away from the hand as it slid down the floor in the first place. And then you were turning the head towards the hand as it came back up the floor. That was the first thing that we did. The second thing we did kept the head fixed so that we could clarify something about your hand and about the rigor of sliding it down the floor. So now turn your face to the right, rest the left cheek on the floor. And now do the first thing, which is as you slide your right hand down the floor, you paint a stripe that's parallel to the spine. You gently flip the hand as the elbow lifts up to the highest point over the hand and flips over, so the forearm goes down onto the floor, you turn your head to the left as the hand passes under the elbow and flips on to the back of the hand. You set the right cheek on the floor as the arm extends all the way down to the side. You pause there for a moment, and then as you start to slide the arm back up, you start to change over the head. But now here's the thing. As you go back and forth, you're going to do this many times, but at your own pace. Here's what you're trying to sort out. Are you just moving your arm and your head because those words have been the subject of the sentences or the objects of the sentences? Because in all honesty, it's your spine and your pelvis that are meant to wake up. The movements in the arm and the head are going to feel torturous or heavy or restricted if you limit yourself to just moving the arm and the head. The whole trick is to give yourself permission to organize the spine, the central axis, to figure out how might you, for once in your life, make the movements of the head and the arm really light, really delicate, really almost diaphanous. Now, this requires real work on your part because you have to do what's not mentioned. And for now, you're only moving the right arm up and down the floor as you turn the head away from the hand as it goes down and towards the hand as it comes up. Just stick to that for the moment. That's enough complexity, what with all the other commentary about how to move your spine and your back. Now, the next time that you find that your right arm is down by your side and your head is turned to the left, stay there for a moment. And now slowly keep the left arm up and the right arm down. Your face is turned to the left. And now slowly slide your left knee up the floor. It means you're going to roll your pelvis back behind you. You're going to roll your pelvis to the left and slide the knee, the left knee, not the right knee, the left knee up the floor. That's right. You're just going to do that a couple of times. And again, this is only so that you can get this idea. You just get another view of the same idea, which is how are you going to inconvenience your spine so that the movement of the leg feels light, it feels simple. I mean, if you want the easiest experiment in the world, don't move your spine and try to slide your leg up the floor. Don't move your spine. Really, really stop the progress of the leg every time you move the spine. And what you'll discover is, well, that's idiotic. That's uncomfortable. That's a kind of a ruinous relationship where I'm trying to fight myself. Exactly. That's called, that's called moving your leg in spite of your spine, and it has no future whatsoever to it. So the next time you slide your knee up, really organize the central axis, roll it, press the right side of the chest proudly into the floor so that the left side would lift, and look for the result. Look for the specific effect that the left leg gets a little bit lighter, a little bit more easy to manipulate. Because the movement of the leg is not important. It's the organization of the spine that we're trying to emphasize here. Now, the next time that your left knee is up the floor and somewhere up the floor by your pelvis, stay there for a moment. Just rest there. Just so you have everybody's in the same point of orientation for a moment. Your face is to the left. Your knee is up the floor. Your right arm is down alongside you. Your left hand is up by your face. And now, when you start to slide the left knee back down, you're going to lift the head and turn it in the other direction. Don't do anything yet. Do not respond to the verbal instructions. Get the idea through your head first. You're going to turn the head to the right as the left knee straightens down. At some point, you're going to notice that your breathing starts to anticipate the difficulty. Your urge to wait until your breathing calms down and then use the quality of your breath to guide your experience. And slowly straighten the left knee down the floor, pick up the head and gently turn it to the right without changing your arms. That's right. When you start to slide the left knee back up the floor, pick up your head, turn it back to the left. So the head is always turning towards the knee as it's coming up, and then it's turning away from the knee as it's sliding back down. Don't complicate it past this point. Just figure out each time how to find more availability in your chest, in the middle of your back, in your abdomen, in your pelvis. Every time you feel yourself yanking on the leg or trying to pull there's a place where every time you get stuck, just think, that's about my spine. It's not about my leg. Yes, my leg feels stuck at that point. Or yes, my leg feels like it needs more force to bring it up the floor. Yeah, but that's about your spine. That's not about your leg. And if you keep looking in your leg for the resolution, there is no cheese down that tunnel. Now, the next time your knee is up the floor and your head is turned to the left, stay there for a moment. Stay there for a moment. Keep the knee up the floor. Leave it there. Slowly begin to paint the stripe down the floor with your left hand. Don't change your head. Don't change your legs. Simply paint the stripe down the floor with your left hand. Gently flip the hand on so the back of the hand goes on and it slides under your thigh. Some of you slid the hand over the leg. It's fine. Next time you do it, you'll slide it under the thigh. So the hand is just moving along the plane of the floor until it flips over and you feel your fingernails droop, and then they go underneath. You reach underneath. Your palm is facing the ceiling. Lovely. Let this movement over and over teach you how to organize your sternum, how to organize your abdomen. You already have the conceptual idea for sure, but now let this movement become boring to you. The movement of the arm is uninteresting, it's boring, it's what it does to the sternum and the back and the ribs. That's where the gold is. Your head will make subtle changes over the right ear. You'll feel maybe as the hand slides down that you kind of roll towards the back of the ear, and then as the back of the hand comes onto the floor, you return onto the cheek. There's all kinds of little details that make the transition of the arm into a work of art. It's not about some sort of exercise mentality of sliding the arm in spite of your back or in spite of your neck. Now, the next time that the arm is down, leave it down. Leave it down. Both arms are down your sides. Gently a few times, pick up your head, find your spine, pick up your head and turn it to the other side. Leave both arms down and the left leg up. This is not good for you. This is not bad for you. You're simply sanding a piece of wood. You're polishing a piece of stone. You're refining to another degree your capacity to, given all of the restraints of your limbs. Look at this. Your left knee is up the floor, your right leg's long, both arms are down by your sides, and yet you're turning your head from side to side. The only way to make this comfortable is to find out whether your spine knows where your head is. You may even start to feel that even though both arms are down the floor, that there's this lovely kind of sliding. There's a little bit of dragging of one hand up the floor when you need it, or one hand reaches a little bit down the floor when you need it. In other words, there are these little inside movements you're making within the constraints that they don't really change the arm so much, but they mean the world to your spine and to your head. The next time you turn your face to the left, listen to your left knee. Just feel your left knee. Feel where it is on the floor. And then when you pick up your head and you turn it to the right, start to slide the left knee down. So the left leg becomes parallel slowly to the right. And just arrive with your left cheek on the floor and both legs long and both arms down. And then begin to lift one shoulder so you can pick up your head and turn it to the other side and set it down. And then pick up your head and turn it to the other side and set it down. And figure out, even with all four limbs straight like this, how to somehow become elegant within the constraints. It's not that you're trying to become perfectly constrained. You're not trying to imagine that the arms are absolutely fixed, like they're glued to the floor. They can move a little bit. They can slide. They can move inside your clothing a little bit. Especially your shoulders. Your shoulders should not be sort of weighed down to the floor and pinning your neck to the ground. The shoulders should feel like they have helium in them when they need it. And then the next time that you turn your face to the right, please slide the right knee up the floor. Not your arms. Leave your arms down. I know, it's heavy. You're meant to feel the heaviness of the work. Having the arms down like this and having to slide your knee up the floor, again, the whole point is to deny you the leverage of the arms. By denying you the leverage of the arms, what are you going to find? Hopefully you're going to find your spine. Now leave your right knee up the floor. Your face turned to the right. Slowly slide the back of your right hand up the floor. Paint a stripe that's parallel to the spine up the floor. The elbow gently lifts. The hand glides and passes under the elbow. It unfolds and it arrives with the palm on the floor by the face. There's this beautiful timing that happens between the hand, the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, your collarbone. It's just like layers and layers of counterpoint inside the harmony. It's not about your arm. That's right. That's exactly right. If your sternum would only turn like that every time, you would actually take pleasure in the movement of the arm like this. Now, leave your arm up the floor, leave your head turned to the right, leave your right knee up the floor, and just rest there for a moment. Now, one of the reasons why there really aren't any formal rests being announced during the lesson. This is on purpose. Now, I said to you at the beginning that you could rest whenever you need to. That's, of course, true of any lesson. But if you're following along, you'll notice that really no formal rests, like, okay, everybody come lie on your back in the usual way that sometimes lessons are taught. This is for a reason. And this is because very often when people rest, their attention goes to shit, essentially, when they rest. It's okay. It's not a criticism. It just tends to be true. And then they have to rejigger their attention all over again when they get into the position. And they essentially rehearse being disoriented in their experience. And here, the thing to notice is that the position you rest in, you have to begin to see how it has the potential within it for transition. You don't know what's coming next. Maybe we're going to turn the head to the left as the right leg goes down. Or maybe we're going to leave the arms just the way they are. And we're going to slide the right leg down while you slide the left leg up. Would you please do that? Would you slide the right leg down while you slide the left leg up, but keep your head turned to the right, your right hand up, your left arm down? So that now the head and the arms are more or less fixed in their position. They're not inert, but they're quite restricted because we're not moving them. But the pelvis and the legs are going to be quite mobile here. And again, how can you use this situation to find out what your spine is capable of? Not through force, but through curiosity, through compassion. Now, the next time that your left knee is on its way up the floor and your right knee is on its way down the floor, please turn your face to the left. And then turn the face to the right as the legs switch. So the face is always turning towards the knee that's coming up the floor. Again, one of the most important values that you can get from any lesson is how not to hurry, how not to rush yourself. At some point, pause in what you're doing. Just leave everything the way it is. And then find a way to change so that the head, the face, turns towards the leg that's straightening and away from the leg that's sliding up the floor. Again, what is this asking for in your spine? In other words, move the legs. As you turn the head, move the legs, but now change the timing so that the face turns towards the side of the leg that's straightening down and away from the knee that's sliding up the floor. Again, the point is not to just accomplish this. Anybody can do that. Really, that is not a high bar at all, to just hear the instructions and do it. The difference in awareness through movement is how you bring the instructions into your world, how you bring it into your particular subjective experience of yourself, and how you start to digest it, to chew it. The main difficulty that everybody faces, to one extent or another, is in being able to figure out how they value the experience, how they value what's being done in the lesson. The most primitive level of experience is that the person doing the lesson doesn't really value it at all in their own personal way. They just assume it has value, and that justifies them putting themselves through the ringer. And that kind of stance inside the lesson generally produces this kind of downstream experience. Just things happen to you, you don't know why. Oh, that lesson was really great. I felt really great. Or this lesson was difficult. My back was really sore, or my neck really, I couldn't do it's. They're on the receiving end of an experience, but they're not quite moving towards authorship. Now, can you orient your attention skillfully inside of what you're doing so that when the right knee slides up the floor, the right hand slides down the floor? You keep switching the legs. That's continuing. You do whatever you want with the head. You do whatever you want with the head. You can leave the head. You can rest it and let everything else move. But as the right knee comes up the floor, the right hand slides down the floor. And as the right knee goes down the floor, the right hand gets dragged back up near the head. And there's no instructions about whether your head should be turning to one side or the other and one timing or the other. You figure that part out yourself. And you play with not just one variety of the head, but see if there might be more than one way to include your head as you do this part where the right hand goes down as the knee comes up. It's basically the limbs on the right side move in opposite directions. And then rest. And then begin to move the limbs on the right side in the same direction. So that means when the right leg straightens down, the right arm also moves down the floor. And when the right knee drags up the floor, the right hand also drags up the floor. And if possible, they do this in a kind of a sweet timing. Not a struggle. Find elegance, not effort. The effort is necessary because of what we fail to include or involve in the spine. We're trying to just move the limb alone by itself, and that's heavy work, and it results in a kind of a clunky experience. Leave the right leg and the right arm down. Turn your head left and right a few times. Notice how clear you're starting to get about the movement of the spine that turns the head. See if you catch yourself just lifting your head, just turning your neck, leaving your spine out of it. See if you catch yourself doing that, and then notice how quickly you can reestablish a better distribution of the effort. Because pretty much every kind of improvement you can make involves a better distribution of effort. That's easy to say, but it's not easy to do. Now begin to slide your left knee up the floor. And as your left knee comes up, slide your left hand down the floor. You turn your head. Do you turn your head when your knee comes up, or do you turn your head when your arm comes up? Do you turn your head to the left to see the knee as it comes up, or do you turn your head to the left to see your hand as it comes up? Can you switch? Can you both find out what you do spontaneously, and then can you change what you do? Leave your arm wherever it is, up or down, leave it there. Let it rest wherever it is, but keep turning the head and dragging the knee up the floor. Leave the left arm where it is. Keep moving your head and your knee in whatever combination, and then change the combination. See how elegantly you can change. See how you can change midstream. You don't have to pause, rest, wait for the instruction. No, you can be turning and your nose is just passing the floor, and then boop, you turn the head without even interrupting the leg. The leg begins to feel like, oh, I don't even need you to turn one way or the other. You can do whatever you want up there. Excellent. Drag the left knee up the floor and leave it there. And now please have your left arm up the floor, your left hand by your head, your right arm down. Your face is to the left. Slowly change over the head and the arms, but leave the legs. The right hand gently slides up as your face turns to the right and your left arm slides down. Make it more elegant than that. It can get more elegant than that. Generally speaking, it's going to get more elegant as you slow it down without it turning into torpor. What does it mean to really slow it down to increase the elegance? Well, it means that when you slow it down, you stop having your ambition drive the movement or your ego drive the movement. When you slow things down, there's a point at which you really don't care anymore because the movement is not threatening. You don't care to just force it to continue like you did when it was going fast. You slow it down enough that you start to see all of the different handles and how they all blend together. And then you notice that it's not really you that's doing it. The spine is doing it. At some point, as you change over the head and the arms, figure out the just the right moment to change the legs. So the legs change as the arms change and as the head changes. You've got all four limbs changing positions with the head. The work should be challenging but enjoyable. If you're holding your breath every time, probably not enjoyable. But there is a way to learn how to exert, how to actually work your spine in a way that it really is work, but it's good work. If you find yourself contracting your abdomen every time, things probably feel pretty heavy. How might things change if you let your belly be a little larger? You let your sternum become a little less of a drag on things, and you start to really turn your sternum a little bit with more intent, with more specificity. And then please bring both arms down to your sides. Rest with both arms long, down, and both legs long, down, and your head turned in whichever direction is more comfortable. And now, as we do the last part of the lesson, your goal is not to get a rug burn. Whatever amount of friction that you've been generating between yourself and the floor, it must become a little bit less. You must develop a more peaceful way of sliding relative to the floor. And this will mean that you will have to maybe turn your spine a little bit more, or there might have to be a greater kind of way in which you take part of the spine forward as you take the other part backward. But now, would you please turn your head to the left as you slide both arms up the floor? Both arms come up the floor as you turn the head to the left. You set the head down on the right cheek as the two palms arrive next to the head. And then you lift the head and change it to the left as you slide both arms down. Again, try not to make so much noise. It should be a quiet experience. Not too much force, not too much grunting. Change which direction the head turns when the arms are up. Your fingers should be painting the ground just like delicate feathers. They shouldn't be scraping the floor. You need to lift your elbows a little higher. You need to pull the chest a little bit more away from the ground so there's more clearance for the hands. Now at some point, as the arms come up the floor, whichever way you're turning your head, as the arms come up, drag one knee up the floor. And as the arms go down, drag the other knee up the floor. Be explicit with yourself. Ask yourself, what am I doing? When am I dragging? Which knee am I dragging when? Just make a basic statement to yourself so that you can verbalize what you're doing to yourself in a simple way. I'm bringing the blank knee up as my hands arrive up by my head. I'm bringing the blank knee up while my hands go down by my side. But just know that the words don't even hint at all of that's taking place in terms of the changeover in the middle of your back, the way your ribs and your chest keep organizing. And then at some point, change over whichever knee comes up when the hands are up. Bring that knee up when the hands are going down. And again, the key here for you would be to really make it as the hands go down. And as the hands go up, you bring up the other knee. It's not first the hands go up and then I do the knee. Or first I do the knee and then the hands go up. It's really finding out how to make the middle alive, how to make the middle capable of transitioning so that all four limbs in your head have the greatest possible dignity of choice. And then whenever you feel like it, move one arm up as you move the other arm down. Combine the arms in opposite directions, just as you're combining the legs in opposite directions. Improvise a little bit. That's one of the lovely things about ATM is that it really is meant to lead to an improvisatory capacity that has responsibility built in, that has a certain kind of integrity, a competence built in. Because you're not improvising willy-nilly. You're not just improvising to do stuff, but you have a basis of comfort and of safety with which to do it, which can really turn into a more creative relationship with yourself and your experience. Can you leave your head down but keep changing your arms and your legs? Just leave your head on one cheek and just keep changing your arms and legs. Isn't that amazing? You don't have to move your head. The spine has a lot of potential in it. More and more space is becoming available in the vertebrae and in the ribs and in your waist. Turn your head to the other side. Leave your head on the floor to the other side and change the limbs. Ideally, you're not getting tired. You're not trying to fatigue yourself. It's not an exercise model where the whole point is to peter out. The whole point is to fatigue the muscle fibers so that they tear and they grow. Here, the idea is that by getting more and more efficient, you actually are able to do more with less because you understand how to coordinate things. Coordinate means more than one thing moves. Please bring your hands up by your shoulders. Stand your elbows over your hands as if you were doing a push-up. And now change over the legs and the head to one side and the other. Drag up one knee, turn the head towards that knee. Notice the advantage of having your hands in contact with the floor, not because you are going to muscle your spine around, but just simply the way the arms frame. They provide a certain leverage, a frame around the capacity of the spine to really generate the movement. And please roll onto your back and rest on your back. See if almost like a bell that's been rung, you can lie on your back and simply resonate with what you've been doing. Slowly in your own time, bend the knees, stand the feet. Notice what kind of transition that you create for yourself as you come to stand. Do your limbs feel lighter? Do you have an experience of being longer or more expansive? Maybe you feel heavier, more elastic, maybe. Just note the aesthetic quality that you perceive. And walk around a little bit. See what this has done to your perception of walking. Or if you want to stand, you just stand. I'm going to stop there. Totally, just give me your honest reaction. What was it like? You said it was a lot of work.
Oh, well, it was, towards the end, I felt like my concentration was, I was losing my concentration a little bit, but trying to be kind to myself and say it's, one of the first times I've done this lesson. And towards the end, just, the word improvising stayed in my mind, that to be kind to myself, but also to allow myself to try different things. I found my mind sort of judging myself. Am I doing this elegantly or gracefully, but realizing that that kind of judgment doesn't aid anything, that really what it's about is just being curious about the lesson, and mostly trying to focus on my spine and just keep in mind that my arms and my legs are really there for the ride. And that was a real transforming moment. I felt very stiff in the beginning, didn't even think about my knees or my pelvis or my legs as part of anything. So it was a real transforming moment to really feel how I can rotate my sternum, my spine, and that made the movement much more doable, and I felt more ease with that. So,
What'd you learn about your spine?
that it needs to engage more. That it felt a little stiff at times. That in repeating this lesson and trying it again, maybe doing other lessons around, sensing the spine would be a way to then repeat the lesson so that I feel a little bit more in tune with my spine. This is the first time doing it, so I feel like in doing other lessons, I'd be able to engage the spine better, for sure.
What did your spine learn about your limbs?
I think that it is in control and that they're there for the ride. At first, I wasn't quite sure what the movement was all about, but then as a painter, I'm an artist, so when you use the analogy of painting the brush on like up and down parallel to the body, that analogy helped a great deal. And what I started to enjoy, because I'm someone who uses my arms a lot, as most people do, what I started to enjoy was the timing of the movement and really feeling, I enjoyed that. That was a very enjoyable motion for me. See you later. Hey! So I just finished a 30-minute run after doing the ATM, and a surprising thing was that, I had talked about how before that my arm, I've been having a lot of problems with my arm, like mostly not able to lift my arm. I have rotator cuff issues and some stiffness, but after doing the ATM, I'm realizing now that I don't feel pain and I feel a lot less stiffness, so that was really an unexpected benefit.